I still remember the first time he walked into our house. His hand rested gently on my sister's waist. Her smile lit up like she had caught a star. And me? I just stood there, nodded politely, trying hard not to let my eyes linger on his face. But I failed. Not because he was handsome, but because he looked at me like he knew me. Like I was the one he'd been searching for. I laughed at myself later. How stupid. I was the younger sister. The quiet one. The background. The one who held the camera but was never in the picture. I was never the chosen one. But he started talking to me. More than he needed to. Little questions. Long glances. Once, they left me behind at the supermarket. My phone died. She forgot me. But he came back. I thought you might still be here, he said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I sat in his car. Quiet. The wind played with my hair. My fingers trembled when he handed me a bottle of water. Not because I was thirsty. Because I was afraid of what I was starting to feel. From that night on, I started counting the seconds he was around. And I hated myself for it. I wasn't supposed to look at him like that. But he wasn't supposed to look at me like that either. He came over more often. Of course, for her. But every time he joked, his eyes flicked to me. Every time he made tea, he poured mine first. Small things. But I noticed. Then one night. She called. Said she'd be late. It was just the two of us in the living room. Silence. Long enough to hear the ticking clock. He got up. Poured more wine. Set the glass in front of me. Drink. It'll warm you up. I looked at the deep red in the glass. My fingers reached for it. His hand brushed mine. Just a second. Less than a blink. But I knew, it started with that touch. And I also knew, nothing would ever be the same again. I told myself it didn't mean anything. It was just a touch. A brief moment. A coincidence. That's what I repeated in my head. But my body remembered. The way my skin tingled. The way my breath caught. The way the silence felt too loud after he moved away. We didn't speak about it. Of course we didn't. When my sister came home, she threw her arms around him. Kissed him. Laughed like the world was hers to keep. And I watched, smiling with my lips but not my heart. That night, I stared at the ceiling in the dark. Listening to the faint sound of their laughter through the wall. Every giggle felt like a needle. I hated how close our rooms were. How I could hear them. How I could imagine things I shouldn't be imagining. I turned on the music. Loud enough to drown them out. But not loud enough to drown myself. The next morning, I avoided his eyes. Made excuses to leave the table early. Kept myself busy, kept my hands moving, kept my thoughts elsewhere. It didn't work. He found ways to be around. Always subtle. Always careful. Helping me carry groceries. Asking about my classes. Leaning just a little too close when he handed me things. I knew it was dangerous. I knew I should shut it down. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because when you've lived your whole life unnoticed, even a stolen glance can feel like sunlight. And he looked at me like I mattered. One afternoon, he offered to drive me to the bookstore. My sister was working late. I should have said no. But I didn't. The ride was quiet at first. Music hummed low from the speakers. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, and I stared out the window, counting the seconds. Then he spoke. "You're different lately," he said. I froze. Quieter. Distant. He glanced at me. Did I do something? I didn't know how to answer. Because the truth was, he had done everything. And nothing. I shook my head. Tried to smile. Just tired. Exams. He didn't push. He just nodded. But the air shifted. It was heavier. Denser. After we left the bookstore, he insisted on grabbing coffee. We sat by the window. 2 drinks between us. 2 lives we shouldn't be weaving together. He asked about my dreams. What I wanted to do after college. Whether I liked the city or the quiet. No one had ever asked me those things. He listened. Really listened. Like every word I said held weight. Like I wasn't just someone's sister. I was, me. I think that was the moment I let go. Of reason. Of right and wrong. Of the thin thread I'd been clinging to. It was late when we got back. She was home, curled on the couch, scrolling her phone. When she saw me, she smiled and said, "Finally. Thought he lost you or something." She kissed his cheek. And I watched him smile back, easy, natural. Like he hadn't just made me feel like I was the only girl in the world. That night, I cried in the shower. Hot water, cold guilt. Tears mixing with steam. Because it wasn't love, right? It couldn't be. He belonged to her. She was the one who brought him home. She was the one who believed in him. She was the one who made space for him in our lives. And me? I was the one hiding. The one stealing glances. The one imagining a version of life that could never exist. But here's the worst part. I started to think, maybe he imagined it too. He started texting me. Not often. Not enough to raise suspicion. Just enough. A meme. A song. A photo of the coffee we liked. At first, I didn't reply. I stared at the screen until the light dimmed. Put the phone away. Then picked it back up again. One night, he sent a voice note. Only 3 seconds. "I miss talking to you." I dropped the phone. Miss me? How could he say that? How could he mean that? The next day, I avoided him. I stayed in my room. Pretended to be asleep when they had dinner together. I thought if I ignored it, it would stop. But it didn't. And I didn't want it to. I replied. "I miss it too." 2 minutes later, he messaged back. Thought I was the only one losing sleep. That was the night everything cracked. We didn't say anything too obvious. Not yet. We tiptoed around the truth. Like we were both afraid to name it. But we knew. Every time he was over, I felt his eyes find me first. Before he hugged her. Before he said hello. Once, she asked me to help him pick a birthday gift for her. So I met him at the mall. In broad daylight. Among strangers and lights and noise. It felt wrong. Too close. Too quiet in the middle of a crowd. He asked what she'd like. I listed things. He wasn't really listening. He was watching me. "Do you think she knows?" he asked suddenly. I froze. "What?" "She's not stupid," he said. "She notices things." I looked away. My voice was barely a whisper. "There's nothing to notice." He smiled. A sad, tired smile. If only that were true. On her birthday, he gave her the necklace we picked together. She wore it proudly. Showed it to everyone. Hugged me and thanked me for helping him. I couldn't breathe. The day after, he came over while she was at work. Said he left his jacket. I handed it to him at the door. Tried not to let our hands touch. But they did. He didn't let go. Just stood there, holding the edge of the sleeve. Looking at me. "I think about you all the time," he said. My heart stopped. He stepped back. "I know I shouldn't. I know it's wrong. But it's real." And then he left. No kiss. No touch. Just that one sentence. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced. Cried. Laughed like a crazy person. How did I end up here? I was the good girl. The quiet one. I never lied. Never stole. Never touched what wasn't mine. But I was already stealing her future. And the worst part? I didn't feel like stopping. 2 days later, she got sick. High fever. Nausea. Fainting. We rushed her to the ER. He held her the entire time. Whispered into her hair. Cried when the doctors wheeled her away. And I stood there. Frozen. Watching the man I loved, love someone else. That night, after she was admitted, he sat next to me in the hospital hallway. Didn't say anything. Just sat. And then he whispered. She's pregnant. I looked at him. Eyes wide. Heart hollow. He nodded. I didn't know. She didn't know. The doctors just told her. And then he whispered the words that would haunt me for the rest of my life. It should have been you. It should have been you. He said it so softly, I almost pretended I didn't hear. But I did. And the words didn't just echo. They burned. What did he mean? That I should be the one pregnant? That I should be the one lying in that hospital bed? I wanted to scream. Slap him. Kiss him. Run. But I did none of those things. I just sat there. Numb. She's going to be a mother, he whispered. And I'm going to be a father. But when I closed my eyes, he turned to me. I see you. I shook my head. Tears ran down, hot and quiet. Don't say that, I whispered. Don't do this. Not now. He looked away. Fists clenched. I just needed you to know. And then he stood up. Walked back into her room. Into the life he was supposed to choose. I stayed behind. Because I didn't know where else to go. A few days later, she came home. We decorated her room with flowers. He moved in temporarily, to take care of her. That's what she told everyone. But I knew better. He wasn't just there for her. Late at night, when she slept, he'd sit with me in the kitchen. We didn't touch. We didn't even look at each other sometimes. Just sat in silence, coffee between us, guilt rising like steam. I told him to stop coming. He didn't listen. You think I can just turn this off? He said once. Pretend it didn't happen? You have to, I said. For her. For the baby. He didn't reply. Just stared into his hands like they were stained. And they were. So were mine. I started pulling away. Locked my door at night. Took extra shifts. Stopped answering his texts. And then one afternoon, she came into my room. Holding my phone. Her face was pale. But her voice was calm. Too calm. I was looking for the charger, she said. Your phone buzzed. I swallowed hard. She handed it to me. Unlocked. A message on screen. I miss your voice. From him. I felt everything drain from my body. She didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. She just sat on my bed. Quiet. Like she was waiting for me to lie. But I didn't. I sat across from her. And I cried. I never meant for it to happen, I whispered. She didn't cry. Didn't move. I trusted you, she said. Both of you. I'm sorry. Don't say sorry. Her voice cracked. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed us. I tried to explain. That it was never physical. That it was confusing. That it started before we understood what it was. But none of that mattered. Because betrayal doesn't need a kiss to bleed. She moved out the next day. Went to stay with a friend. He tried calling her. She didn't answer. And then, he showed up at my room. He looked like hell. She left, he said. She took the ultrasound photos. The ring. Everything. I nodded. Didn't speak. He stepped closer. I didn't want this. I swear I didn't. And for the first time, I saw it. Not just guilt. Not just regret. But fear. Raw, aching fear. He was losing everything. And suddenly, a question hit me. Sharp. Cold. Uninvited. Have you done this before? I asked. He blinked. What? Cheated. Lied. Told someone you loved them, when you didn't. He flinched. And didn't answer. He didn't answer. And silence, sometimes, is the loudest truth. I stared at him. Waiting. Hoping he'd say no. Beg. Swear. Deny. But he just stood there. Breathing like the air was too heavy. How many? I asked. My voice cracked. Still nothing. A lump formed in my throat. Hard. Bitter. Familiar. You're a liar, I whispered. And only then did he speak. I never meant to hurt her. That's what liars always say. That pain was never the plan. As if intention erases consequence. She's pregnant, I said. You were going to marry her. I still might, he murmured. My body went still. What? He sat down on the edge of my bed. Head in his hands. I don't know what I'm doing, he said. I feel split in half. I love her. I love you. I didn't want to choose. I laughed. A sharp, broken sound. You already did choose. And it wasn't me. I got up, grabbed his jacket, and shoved it into his chest. Get out. But before he reached the door, I asked something I shouldn't have. Was I the only one? He froze. And that 1 second, that pause, told me everything. He turned slowly. There was someone. Before your sister. A long time ago. Back home. Was she someone else's sister, too? I said, bitter. He sighed. It ended badly. I don't want to talk about it. But I couldn't stop now. What happened? She tried to ruin me, he said. Told lies. Tried to expose things that weren't true. His eyes burned with something darker than guilt. She said I manipulated her. That I made her think I cared. My hands went cold. Did you? He stepped toward me. I don't know what you want me to say. That I'm perfect? I'm not. I want you to say the truth. He looked at me, and for a moment, I saw something unfamiliar. Not the man I fell for. Not the boy with gentle eyes. But someone else. Someone practiced. Controlled. You're not innocent either, he said. That hit me like a slap. I didn't lie, I said. I didn't cheat. No, he said, you just fell in love with your sister's boyfriend. And let it happen. I felt sick. I wanted to scream. To run. To undo everything. But then, he said something else. Something that shattered what little I had left. She's not really your sister, is she? I stared at him, confused. What are you talking about? He looked down. Smiled, almost sadly. You think your family told you everything. But they didn't. And then he left. Just like that. Left me with a question that burned hotter than any guilt ever had. She's not really your sister, is she? His voice kept playing in my head. Over and over. Like a curse I couldn't shake. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, eyes open, staring into the dark. listening to the silence of a house no longer whole. That morning, I searched through drawers, boxes, old envelopes at the back of closets. And I found it. A faded folder. Yellow with time. My name scrawled in the corner. Inside. My birth certificate. Hospital forms. An adoption record. Dated 3 weeks after I was born. My hand shook as I read the names. Mother, unknown. Father, not listed. I wasn't just adopted. I was abandoned. I wanted to throw up. I stumbled into the kitchen, clutching the papers like they were weapons. My mother, the one who raised me, was pouring tea. She looked up. Smiled. Then saw my face. Everything stopped. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. My voice cracked. Why did you let me believe? She didn't move. Didn't speak. Just sighed. We were going to tell you, she said quietly. But then time passed. And you two grew so close. She looked down at her hands. I thought maybe it didn't matter anymore. Didn't matter? I repeated. She's not my sister. She is, she said sharply. In every way that counts. But not by blood. She didn't answer that. Instead, she said something worse. You were found in a shelter. Left with nothing. No name. No note. Just a blanket. Tears blurred my vision. I wasn't angry at being adopted. I was angry at being lied to. Because every choice I made, every line I crossed, would I have done it if I'd known? Would I have fallen for him if I didn't think he was hers? Would I have hated myself so much? But the truth was, I did know. Somewhere deep down, I always felt different. A little, outside. I just didn't have the words for it. Now I did. I went to find him. He was staying at a motel on the edge of town. Alone. Quiet. When I knocked, he opened the door like he'd been expecting me. I read it, I said. It's true. He nodded. Didn't smile. I knew, he said. I froze. What? I knew you weren't really sisters. My mouth went dry. How? He stepped aside. Let me in. There were papers on the table. Letters. Photos. He handed me one. A grainy picture. 2 babies. 1 crib. I met your sister years ago, he said. Before we ever dated. At a summer camp. She mentioned she had an adopted sister. Said you were beautiful. Quiet. Like a ghost that lived in her shadow. He looked at me. And I never forgot that. I dropped the photo. So all this time. I didn't plan it, he said. I didn't come here looking for you. But when I met her again, and then saw you. He stopped. I remembered the name. Yours. From that old story. I knew it was you. I backed away. You let me believe I was the monster, I said. That I was stealing her life. Tears filled his eyes. But I didn't care anymore. You chose this, I hissed. You manipulated all of it. He didn't deny it. And that silence, again, was louder than any apology. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. I just walked out. Into the night. Into the cold. Because some truths don't break you with noise. They shatter you in silence. He knew who I was. He chose me anyway. Played us both. And I let him. That night, I texted her. Can we talk? No reply. So I waited outside her friend's apartment the next morning. Waited until she stepped out, her belly now showing through her coat. She froze when she saw me. I stood up. Hands shaking. I need to tell you everything. She didn't walk away. Didn't scream. She just looked tired. We sat on a bench nearby. Like two strangers who used to be something else. I told her everything. About the adoption. About how he knew. About how he found his way into our lives, not by accident, but by design. She didn't interrupt. She just listened. And when I finished, she whispered, "I loved him." "I know." "No, really," she said. "I planned a life with him. A future." She looked at me, and I saw it. Not hate. Not even betrayal. Just devastation. "I thought he was the one who saved me," she said. "From loneliness. From emptiness." Her hands went to her stomach. But he was just another kind of emptiness. Dressed like love. I wanted to hug her. But I didn't dare. "I don't forgive you," she said softly. "Not yet. Maybe not ever." I nodded. "I don't forgive myself either." And then she asked, "Do you still love him?" I didn't know how to answer. Because my heart was a mess of feelings. Grief, shame, longing. And underneath all that. Yes. Yes, I still loved him. But I hated him more. She stood. "One day," she said, "you'll have to choose what kind of woman you want to be. The one he shaped, or the one who breaks free." Then she left. And I sat there, trying to figure out if I even had a self outside of this pain. That evening, I went back to my parents' house. Alone. They didn't ask questions. They just left dinner on the stove. Like feeding a ghost. I ate quietly. Then went into my room. And for the first time in days, I opened my laptop. I searched his name. His real name. Not the one he used on social media. Not the one we knew him by. It took some digging. But I found it. A forum thread. Buried deep. Old. From another city. Another girl. Claiming the same story. That she'd fallen for him. That he said all the right things. That he disappeared after she confronted him about her younger sister. My blood ran cold. I clicked on her profile. The last post was from 2 years ago. He breaks people. Slowly. Like it's art. And then, nothing. I found him at the old train station. The place where broken things go to wait for something that'll never come. He was sitting on a bench, coat pulled tight, head bowed. For a second, my heart clenched. Not out of love. Out of mourning. Mourning the person I thought he was. He looked up when he saw me. No smile. No defense. Just tired eyes. "You came," he said. I had to. I sat down a few feet away. Close enough to hear him breathe. Far enough not to touch. "You hurt her," I said quietly. "You hurt me." He didn't argue. "I never meant to," he said, like it mattered. I laughed. A broken sound. I wasn't sure if I was laughing at him or at myself. "You knew who I was. Before you even loved her." He nodded. "You made us your game." He didn't answer. I stared at the empty tracks. Rusty. Silent. "I'm not here to fight," I said. "Not even to forgive." He looked at me, almost hopeful. "I'm here to end it." The wind picked up, scattering leaves around our feet. "You will leave this town," I said. "You will never call her. Never call me. Never look back." He swallowed. "And if I don't?" I met his eyes. For once, I didn't flinch. "You'll lose more than you ever thought possible." Something in him cracked then. Maybe it was real. Maybe it was just another performance. I didn't care anymore. I stood. "You don't deserve any more of my story." I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. Not when he called my name. Not when he begged. I kept walking. And walking. Until the station was nothing but a shadow behind me. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. The weight was still there. The scar still raw. But I was free. Not because he let me go. Because I chose to. I chose myself. And maybe that's the cruelest, kindest thing love can teach you. That not everyone deserves the pieces they break. Loi Kamon Ba Ket video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying till the very end. This story wasn't easy to tell, and maybe it wasn't easy to hear. If you felt something, if you saw a piece of yourself between the cracks, I hope you know you're not alone. Drop a comment or just leave a little black heart if you're here. I'd love to hear what you think when you're ready. And if you're curious about the next stories we'll explore together, darker, deeper, maybe even a little more dangerous, make sure to stick around. See you soon.